let's talk about my boys, Dave, because Aston Villa came back from the international break looking fresh and beat Crystal Palace 3-1. It took 2 very late goals to seal the win, and we'll talk about the game in a bit more detail and how that went on. But I wanted to talk about this game because I was really, really enjoying the performance as a whole. I think the first half, obviously, they weren't clinical enough and they struggled to get the goal. But the way that they dominated play and the kind of football they played and the calm and measured approach that Emery has brought to that team, I think speaks wonders of how well coached that side is. And there are a few players in there that have really kicked on from last season. Let's start with Douglas Luiz for a second, Dave. He won possession, 16 times in that game, which is the most of any player in a Premier League match. He also scored once again in the league, which is just brilliant to see him get his tally up. The calmness of that penalty late on in the game, the level that he's at now, Dave, can we see why Villa was so desperate to hold on to him last summer and this year? And what's his ceiling within that team, do you think?
The second half of last season, he was an absolute revelation. It's not just the start of the season. He's kind of carried that form on into this season. He's looked, like mainly, arguably, probably one of the most important player in your team when he's on his game.
Yeah, I think so. Do you know what's really nice? There was all that talk about him going to Arsenal last year, and then there was loose talk of Liverpool looking at him this summer. He scores that penalty. He runs over to the corner flag, which represents AVFC on the side, and he holds it out to the crowd, and he makes it all about the club. And I love that because he's been with us now, I think, 3 years, and has had opportunities to go, has seen his game time limited at times. Obviously, there was a bit of a personal situation where he was in a relationship with Alicia Lehman, and that broke up, and you thought, yeah, you could see why he might move on at times. But it seems like he's so settled there, and I wonder if that's what a coach like Unai Emery manages to do, get players settled. Obviously, there was comments from Yuri Tielemans during the international break where he was saying he wasn't really happy with his game time so far at Villa. Now, a lot of people kind of jumped on that and were a bit like, oh, he's already moaning and, oh, that's a problem. But actually, I kind of love that. I want someone to say, no, I really want to play here. I want to be featuring. And it wasn't so much oh, it's ridiculous. I hate my time here. He said, I'm not happy with it right now, but I'm going to work to get there. And he came on in this game, played 2 incredible passes that both led to goals. And I thought really showed what he can bring. So that depth is definitely there. We also saw 2 of the other new signings really shine. Zaniolo in the first half, I thought was outstanding, created 3 big chances and should have had the assist of the season if it weren't for Matty Cash just completely hitting an air shot where he does this lovely turn and nutmegs the defender on the byline and cuts the ball back. It was just fantastic. And we saw the kind of flair he's going to bring. Moussa Diaby sadly had a goal ruled out for offside after an exquisite first touch. So unbelievable, wasn't it?
Great.
And he's now got he's got 2 goals, 2 assists in the Premier League so far in 5 games. That's a great impact, isn't it? What do you think?
He seems like got such a cool head on his shoulders as well. Like how composed he was with that finish. That would have been a great.
Do you know, my only slight criticism of him at the moment is I almost think he's got too cool of a head, and sometimes I want him to be a bit more selfish. Like I've seen a few opportunities where I thought, lash that a goal. And he's tried to square it, and it's not really been the right moment to pass it. So I want him to be a bit more clinical, but that will come with time. I think he's been outstanding. And we talk about how Emery is coaching players, and we talked about, so Douglas Luiz, like we said, most times a player's won possession in a single game in the Premier League this season. Excellent. Luca Dean's put 7 successful crosses into the penalty area so far this season, the most of any player in the Premier League. Outstanding. So clearly being coached really well. Pau Torres in this game made 117 successful passes. It's the most of any Aston Villa player in Premier League history. Well, since records have been kept. And he just dictated the entire game and actually spent loads of the game just on the edge of Crystal Palace's final third, just telling you where he wanted it. I think only Lewis Dunk has progressed the ball up the pitch more than him, carried the ball up the pitch more than him so far. And he didn't start the first game. So clearly Emery's impact on those players and the impact they're having on the league is really shining through. And we talked briefly about the first Villa goal, the equaliser, coming from 19-year-old Jhon Duran. What do you make of him, Dave? Because this is kind of this is his chance now. Obviously, Cameron Archer got moved on. He is the understudy to Ollie Watkins, and at the moment, he's taking his chances when he gets them, isn't he?
Yeah, and obviously there has been plans there for him to obviously make a pathway into the team at some point. Obviously, he needed a lot of patience, I feel, last season. Obviously, came in January, didn't he? It's easy to forget how young he is. You know, he's still 19 and turns 20 in December, I feel, but he's had actually quite a quick turnaround. His career, his last 3 clubs, obviously started at Envigado. I think he made his debut at the age of 15, which is just crazy.
Crazy, isn't it? He's a unit, though, so I'm not surprised.
And moved, obviously, to Chicago in the MLS and made 27 appearances. I think scored 8 goals, obviously, which is quite a good return. And obviously, that got a lot of attention. And I think United were actually linked with him. There are a few big clubs, actually.
There's a lot of clubs. There was.
But he's actually starting to show, what he's all about. I feel, obviously, his strengths. He's quite a quick player. He's, if you look at his physique, he's really strong. He's quite good aerial prowess. And his finishing ability is quite 2-footed as well. So I feel like...
that finish. The way he hit that ball.
The technique of it, wasn't it? Just so,
yeah.
Absolutely beautiful to watch.
It's not in the corner, but no keeper's got a chance the way he hits it.